Staying with the issue of the out-of-school children, the federal government has been making some clarifications about the number of those children in the country. According to the permanent secretary of the ministry, in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Sonny Echono, a recent demographic health survey by the ministry has shown that the actual population of out-of-school children in Nigeria is now 10.2 million. He told journalists in Abuja that the issue of conflicting figures has been addressed, saying that there has been a drop in the number of out-of-school children due to several interventions by the government.
For us as an administration, our concerns have been twofold. First, to find an empirical means of getting our figures right and the best ways of reducing the number to the barest minimum. In the last 4 years, therefore, we have been making efforts to determine the exact number of out-of-school children. And as I said earlier, we do acknowledge that the issue of data has constituted a stumbling block in terms of planning for the out-of-school children nationwide and for the global reporting on the phenomenon. However, the good news is that UBEC and other stakeholders, including the National Population Commission and the National Bureau of Statistics, have been working towards this common goal of determining this number.
Let's talk infrastructure now. The Ogun State Governor, Ibikunle Amosu, has assured residents of Ogun West that he'll be completing all ongoing projects in the region before his term ends in May. He gave this promise during a visit to one of those project sites. This road is in Owode Yewa and leads to Ilaru, both towns in the western part of Ogun State. It's part of a 110-kilometer long road network around this axis. This particular one is over 30-kilometer long and connects 5 communities. The state governor, Ibikunle Amosu, who is on a tour of this project, knows what this road was like before its makeover.
Before now, people will have to, you are going to Ilaru, people will have to go to Ota, go from Ota to Kwakwa, now because to get to Ilaru. Now look at it now, 30 minutes we're there. If you look at the length of the road, when it is fully completed, you can take 4 or 5 of roads like this in Abeokuta. It will not be up to what we did here. But I'm happy now that people can commute between Ilaru and Owo. That's why we've taken now.
It's the same feeling for residents who appear excited about the new state of the road.
This road was somehow very terrible for us before. But as at late last year, we discovered that the government has now bring something better on it. But for now, we are moving on this road from Ode to Eredo. And we spent less than 30 minutes. But the road was very bad. But now we spend less than 5 minutes from Ode to Eredo now. And we thank the government for the support for what they have done on this road.
Governor Amosu is pleased with his works, of which he insists no part of the state has been left behind, with plans to up the tempo.
I'm going to now ask the contractors to move back to Ilaru. I don't want to leave Ilaru Township the way it is. We will run around to make sure that, of course, we fix. That's about 1 kilometer and 1.5 that is demolished already. So I am happy with what is happening.
This effort of government is not going unnoticed by residents. And as work continues, the governor states that there are plans to complete all ongoing projects in this part of the state before he completes his administration on May the 29th. The meter asset policy providers of the federal government is set to begin on the first day of May this year. The policy has been created to bridge the over 4 million gap of unmetered Nigerians. The procedure will require that consumers work with the approved maps attached to the various discos and after payment, get meters installed in their homes within 10 days. Our correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, has the rest of the story.
About 6 years into privatization of the electricity sector, Nigeria has a record of 1 transmission company, 6 generating companies called GENCOs, and 11 distribution companies called the DISCOs.
Transmission capacity has grown again. The last simulation that we did in December 2018 was 8,100. There are issues at the distribution end of metering, of outdated assets.
One of the outdated assets has been traced to the area of metering. The discos have a collective customer base of over 8 million, out of which just about 3.6 million have been metered and over 4 million are not metered as at August 2018.
We decided that we cannot sit by idly. We can use our regulatory power and our policy power. So we created a policy called Meter Asset Providers.
Meter asset providers, MAP, are to lift the burden of providing meters from the discos, and the chain has the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, and the discos closely knitted in this chain of supply.
When government then designed the Meter Asset Provider Program, they came up with a set of guidelines. That set of guidelines required that companies that could raise the necessary financing should come up and bid for to be licensed as meter asset providers.
So that's what the minister was saying.
With the introduction of MAP came the question of whose responsibility is it to provide meters to Nigerians. This sparked a not-too-friendly discussion recently in the sector and leaves many consumers wondering who they should run to for their metering needs and the procedure of the MAP policy.
Is it still the responsibility of the discos? I say to an extent, yes.
MAP is expected to begin on the first day of May 2019, meaning that from then, consumers should have access to pay into an escrow account and in 10 days have meters installed in their homes.
Distribution companies and meter asset providers should probably have agreed on the service agreement and banks that they will use to establish the escrow account. Therefore, on the 1st of May, customers can start to pay into those accounts, and within X number of days from when they pay into those accounts, they should expect meters in their homes.
Before that, there must be a necessary arrangement between the MAP licensee and each of the manufacturers, because manufacturing procedure takes a little while, because to buy components and some other accessory for us to actually produce meter, they need to sign us, they need to engage us in full capacity to even make payment to we, the manufacturer, to produce for them. Otherwise, the time variation will affect the entire deployment process.
MAP may hold the key to erase the complaints of unfair billing as well as commercial losses to the discos. However, the results will depend largely on the proper implementation of the policy. Ini John Mekwa reporting for Channels Television News.
To Aviation Matters now. Responding to a fire incident or accident at any airport must take less than 3 minutes to ensure the safety of passengers, aircraft, or even the terminal building. Our next report looks at the role of aircraft rescue and firefighting personnel in aviation safety.
Aircraft rescue and firefighting, ARFF, is a special category of firefighting that involves the response, hazard mitigation, evacuation and possible rescue of passengers and crew of an aircraft involved in a typical airport ground emergency. With the mass casualty potential of an aviation emergency, the speed with which emergency response equipment and personnel arrive at the scene of the incident is of paramount importance.
It is called response time. The response time is 2 minutes, not less than 3 minutes. Under 2 minutes, we should be there. That is in each movement area. The movement area is the runway, the apron, all areas where the aircraft are moved.
While this is the stated response time, it does not appear to be the case when the Imo State Airport VIP lounge got engulfed recently, as the fire raged on for more than 4 minutes before help came.
The smoke was really very, very enormous, but we were able to contain it. For us to get there, engage our fire truck, just a minute.
While officials of the airport authority say they are prepared for this kind of emergency, an airline official begs to differ.
Every airport has to have fire cover, and the actual terminal building was on fire, and it took them so long to bring it under control. It is very worrying. I think we have to go back, sit with FAN, and have a look at fire cover generally in our airports. We know that all these things exist on paper.
Other airport fire incidents include the severe damage of a turboprop aircraft belonging to Overland Airways in October 2018 while it was undergoing service at the airline's hangar in Lagos. An Airbus aircraft carrying over 200 passengers did an air return 1 hour into the flight owing to an engine fire in February 2018. And an Arik aircraft also had smoke detected in its cabin on a Lagos to Accra flight in March 2018, which forced the pilot to declare an emergency 81 nautical miles to the Accra airport. Ensuring that aircraft, passengers and the terminal are safe also rests on continuous training of firemen.
Airport task fire cover when you are able to satisfy international requirements. Like this airport now, it's expected that we have 3 fuel fire trucks, and sometimes if you go there, you have to see more than 3. The international regulation says every 2 years you go for refreshers course, and we just have to abide it. It's an internationally regulated industry.
With the federal government's latest inspection of a 5 billion naira fire training simulator expected to be installed at the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, many Nigerians hope that this upgrade in training will impact on the quality of service delivery of aircraft rescue and firefighting personnel. Bukola Joe Uketumbi, Channels Television News.
On business news, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has asked the federal government to reject the call by the International Monetary Fund IMF to remove fuel subsidy. At the inauguration of the local organizing committee for the 6th African meeting of solidarity with Cuba today in Abuja, the president of the NLC, Mr. Ayuba Waba, says such recommendation was synonymous with a hike in fuel price, which could lead to more hardship for Nigerians. He described fuel subsidy as a form of corruption and payment for the inefficiency of the nation in the oil industry and calls for the improvement of refineries to serve local demand. Kaduna and 5 other states are to benefit from the $200 million World Bank Agro-Processing Productivity Enhancement and Livelihood Improvement Support Project. The 5 other states are Kano, Kogi, Lagos, Enugu, and Cross River. The state coordinator, Mr. Yahaya Aminu, who made this known at a one-day awareness program on policy alignment and implementation of the project in Kaduna, explains that over 40% of the beneficiaries will be women and people with disabilities. He explains that the project seeks to enhance agricultural productivity of small and medium-scale farmers and improve value addition along priority value chains in participating states. Company news now. Pan-African technology company Jumia has made its first listing on the New York Stock Exchange, becoming the first ever startup and technology company from Africa to list on Wall Street. The e-commerce firm's initial public offering started its first trading day with an opening price of $14.50 on Friday and closed the day at $25.46 per share. Jumia, which operates in 14 African countries, was founded in Lagos in 2012 with South Africa's telecoms giant MTN Group as its largest shareholder. Let's check out how the market is doing now. It extended its lost run this week with the all-share index shedding 0.19% to 29,560.47 points, while its equity cap went down by 21 billion naira to a moderate 11.1 trillion naira. This week's performance was lackluster, driven by bearish sentiments in 4 of the 5 key sectors, save for the oil and gas segment, which rose by 34 basis points. Activity level this week was just okay, with a total transaction volume of 1.77 billion units, which changed hands for 15.26 billion naira in just 17,015 deals. Ikeja Hotel took the top loser spot for the week compared to some 18.7% gains recorded against Len Africa. Still ahead on the news at 10. Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr calls for caution after three-time African champions were picked against Guinea, Madagascar and Burundi for the 2019 African Cup of Nations. That's in sports news. Join us again.